Hey, so I wanted to talk about the change in my brain after I started using social media. So for context, I haven't used social media prior to, I would say, halfway through 2025 or early 2025. I barely used it. I almost used nothing actually. I would barely use YouTube. I would barely use Instagram, barely use Twitter, though Twitter I don't think would count in what I'm about to say, but in general, I haven't used social media that often. And so it was only this year that I really kind of started using it, especially YouTube. YouTube is a big thing for me. And that's because I really like watching videos. And I always used to give myself this excuse of like, oh, YouTube's fine because, there's some educational content on there, which is true. But here's the problem. There is educational content on there. How many times did I watch it? Not much. I would spend time watching educational content. Don't get me wrong, right? But what ended up happening most of the time is I would click on an educational video, realize it's kind of boring, and then go to a cool video, and that I think destroyed a lot of my time. Um, and I'm not just here to talk about the time because everybody knows social media is a waste of time, right? Nearly everybody tries to get themselves rid of it. I don't think getting rid of it is the hard part for me. The hard part is kind of the FOMO, or just the bias of like, okay, well, if I want to get ahead in the future, won't I need to use social media? Well, if I want to stay caught up, won't I need to use social media? Um, and I also want to talk about the effects that's had on me as a person, and obvious differences I used to see. So for added context as well, I used to meditate nearly every single day. Now it's very cut down. I would say it's almost never at this point. I barely do it. And I thought it was because I had already achieved what I needed to mentally, which I think once you meditate for a certain period of time, you do achieve a certain level of, I would say, consciousness that normal people don't really have because they spend too much time on social media. But I feel like I'm losing it the more time I spend on these short form platforms. Um, and so I've also become much less of a creator. Before, I really, really liked making videos like these kinds, right? If you go through my channel, there's a bunch, not even just this one. I had a previous channel. It may or may not be up when you watch this. We'll see. But I'll likely keep it up, right? And I love to make videos because I had so many unique insights all the time. I would read a lot, I would learn a lot, spend a lot of time on these like very esoteric kind of articles online. I would dive deep into different articles, which actually I was actually doing prior to this, which is interesting. Um, so I have a full I'll try to show you. So check this out. I have a full like I only have three here, but these three have a lot of big pieces of knowledge that I kind of dive deep into if you're interested. So um, one is Nick Saraev, which is NickSaraev.com. Great. He's in business. He has a very interesting story of business. And then Derek Sivers is another one, business, and Farnham Street. This is a little bit more, I would say, logical slash philosophical. Very interesting. I just find it really cool. But like these things, I lost the ability to read at a certain point because I was so used to short form content, um, even long term content. Like nothing. It killed my ability to think, really come to conclusions on my own because I would rely on other people for them. And that heavily killed my ability to make videos like this because I really, really like making videos like this, um, or at least I used to, right? But now I don't even feel like I want to because I have nothing to talk about. I mean, even previous to this, I was just sitting there like, what can I even talk about, Um, and so I feel like these kind of platforms, they take away your ability to create. They take away your ability to produce something interesting, new, revolutionary. And although not everything that I produce is going to be revolutionary, I do want to have an effect on the world. I want to be able to put something out there that's like, this is art. This is something that came out of me. This is something that I created from scratch, with my blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm putting out into the world to show them, like, hey, this is beauty, right? This is my version of seeing the world. And I kind of want to do that through content, not just this. This is just me talking, this is nothing special. I want to do it through actual, like, real content, like videos where I'm going out there and I'm actually recording like beautiful things I see beautiful, right? Like my college campus where I go to the school here called UC Berkeley in California, and we live very near to San Francisco. Beautiful city, beautiful views. I don't see many people documenting it, or maybe if they do, like they're very little. They're not very well known. I think one of my skills is definitely like being able to grow on social media with kind of like viral videos. Now, this one I don't really care too much. If someone stumbles upon this, whatever, I don't care. You can watch these videos. It's nice. Um, this is more just me showing like this is just my interest. There's nothing special here. Um, but what I do want to spend a lot of time on at least is real content. Real art, where I go out there, take this camera that I have in front of me right now, and go record the world, record the campus. There's this beautiful mountain that I've always wanted to kind of take pictures of, or record something through there, where you can see the entire city of Oakland, Berkeley, and then San Francisco is way far out, and then you can see kind of like the ocean. It's like infinite vastness of nothing. Um, I've always wanted to record that, but like something stops me. It's this fear of posting. It's this fear of what do people think of me, and it's this ability to just not be able to piece together what I want to, because I feel so rotten mentally from all the stupid content I've consumed. And so I think I want to take like a personal pledge in 2026. It's coming up, and I guess I can start it now too. Like nothing's stopping me. Like it doesn't have to be the new year, right? But I do want this next year to be full of producing and less consuming. Obviously, there'll be some consumption, right? Like you can. There's just some things you can't avoid, or there's just some things that you really want to watch. And I guess if I really need to, I'll go out of my way to go watch those things. But right now, I can strongly say that I have a YouTube kind of addiction, and I want to get rid of it. Won't be hard. I can block it off of my computer. It's not very difficult. I can block it off of my phone. But the real problem arises when I need to go create something. Like how can I force myself to create something? And it's just gonna have to be brute force like this. Where it's like you have to sit down and record something and let it flow off the top of your mind. You can't just expect creative to just come out of nowhere. Sometimes it does, but sometimes you gotta just sit down and let out the garbage. This is me letting out the garbage. Like there's a lot that I have to share, but and this is why this video is very scrambled. But like all in all, the main concept is like I think this next year I really want to dedicate towards being just much less passive and much more active in what I do. Be it business, be it uh, content, be it making things. I've always wanted to make a personal website. Like what would that look like? How would I create that? I've always wanted to make videos, actual videos, not this type. Like again, like going out there, getting beautiful shots. What would that look like? Um, Maybe even try spout some music. If I wanted to get into the music, what would that look like? So there's so much that I want to try. And I just haven't taken the initiative to do it, and that's absolutely my fault, and I take full responsibility. Um, and I guess like what inspired me to even make this video right here is like I was reading a story of someone who's like, yeah, I followed the whole path, I got rich, um, but I never did anything I wanted to, and I don't want to end up at 30 years old. Right now I'm 19. I don't want to end up at 30 years old and be like, there's so much stuff I wanted to do, but I didn't do it. I feel like that's the ultimate betrayal to the self. And it's just like that would cause me depression. So I want to go and do things that are interesting to me. And yeah, that's going to come with me having to put myself out there, and me having to take risks, and me having to do things that are scary, but I know that long term it is something that will pay off if I do it right. So yeah, I mean that's the main concept of everything. Yeah, so I guess my attack plan for this is kind of dive much more into meditation, kind of slowing things down once again. I'm a very fast paced person. I talk fast, I move fast, I walk fast, like everything is fast. But, you know, what would it look like doing the opposite? This is a Tim Ferriss question. If you're familiar with Tim Ferriss, he wrote a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. And one of the questions that he had on like things to ask to improve yourself is like, what would it look like if I did the opposite for 48 hours? Now, for me, it's what would it look like if I did the opposite and it worked and I can continue to do it, right? What would it look like for me to be a slow person? Not slow like mentally, not slow in terms of uh, things that I do. Slow in terms of like when I wake up in the morning, I'm not checking my phone for the first hour. Whereas right now I go check my messages right when I wake up. Why do I need to do that? Is it necessary at all? Um, what would it look like to, again, do the opposite? I work out in the evenings. What would it look like to work out in the morning? What would it look like to, instead of working out 2 3 days a week, which is what I do to maintain right now, what would it look like to go 5 6 days a week, which is what I used to do to gain muscle, right? What would it look like to go to failure on my workouts, which is like muscle fatigue, pure fatigue? And there's just all these questions I have to ask myself, um, that I don't have the answers to because I haven't tried. So yeah, I'm just gonna, I think I want this next year to be a kind of a year of experimentation. I'm still young, I have time, I have energy. Why not use it? Why waste it, right? So yeah, again, there's gonna be a lot more meditation. I would say a lot more walks, a lot less music. I listen to a lot of music, and now if I was like actually developing music, that's different. But again, I want to shift from consumer to producer, which is gonna mean I'm gonna have to cut down on the things I produce. Like I have these very nice headphones. I'll actually pull it up. Um, these are recent headphones that I bought. These ones right here. These are the Sony I don't even know what it is. Sony WH-1000 XM6. Long name. Very good headphones. I lost my first ones that I got like 5 months ago. I didn't lose it. It's a long story. But I had to buy these. Um, Very, very good headphones. I love listening to music on these, but I want my music to also be more intentional, not passive. Maybe if I work out, whatever, I can listen to it then. Maybe even not, what would that look like? But um, yeah, I don't want to listen to music all the time. My music, so if you guys are familiar, Spotify Wrapped, right? It was terrible. Let me show you here. I screenshotted it somewhere. Yeah, check this out. You're not gonna believe this. Look, in 2025, I listened to 77,000 minutes of music. For context, that's about, like, what even is that? That's about 1,200 hours of music. No, not even, almost 1,290 hours of music. Almost. That's absurd. That's 1,290, divide that by 365. That you're looking at almost 3 hours a day of music. That's crazy. This is all passive background music. So clearly I have a problem, And so the question again arises of like, how do I stop this? I don't want this to happen. I don't want to have to be addicted to things or passively listen to things and shut off my mind. I want my mind to work. I want it to kind of be in overdrive. I want to look at flowers and think, oh my God, that structure is so beautiful. I wonder how that works. And then whip out my ChatGPT and start asking ChatGPT questions. Or actually, I'm shifting to Gemini. I don't like ChatGPT anymore, but like something like that, right? Where instead of this, I can replace 77,000 minutes of my year, 53 days. Holy crap. 53 days of my year with life, with actual skills, with actual um, real development, you know? Um, and that means more reading. I carry a Kindle with me everywhere I go now because I have loaded it with like hundreds. I think we're almost at 1,000 books now. Just anything I want to read available right there. Like I have the world at my fingertips, and yet I lock myself into these traps of social media. You know, I really just have to block it off. So I kind of want to make a verbal commitment here, and I want to make like a real commitment to myself of like blocking out things that I don't want to go into, which I'm actually going to do it right now. Yeah, I'm like tired of YouTube, you know, like I watch it way too much. Now, my one exception is Twitter. I will say I plan to at least do something on Twitter. You know, like I really I want to grow there. I think there and YouTube are where I really want to grow. You might be like, how can I post on YouTube without watching it? Hard question. We'll figure it out, right? Um, but I just want to cut my YouTube consumption down at least 95%. Even when I eat, you know, when I eat, I want it to be maybe me. If I have to listen to something, it can be an audio, or I eat with friends, you know, not alone. Um, which, you know, the sad truth of life is, you know, especially in college, you have to go do things yourself. It's just how it is. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So in summary, removing social media from my life, I want to see what effect that has. Just cold turkey, you know, just out. Which I genuinely think will have a very big effect. Become more of a producer on platforms than a consumer, you know, that be it on every platform, right? And spend more time making things. And if I do want to consume traditional, like not not the new age, kind of like old age, like books or stuff like that, you know. So yeah, that's kind of my little little rant after a very long time. But is there anything else to mention? No, I don't think there's anything else to mention. Yeah, those are just me voicing my frustrations. All right, well, that's it. Yeah, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I will see you some other day when I have something else to complain about. Okay, have a good one.